There is nothing on my planet but more of my kind. We exist only as amoeba forms. Sometimes I hate being a gummy bear. You have no idea how hard it is to be a gummy bear. In Gummy Land, life has always been a struggle for survival. This has only been made worse with the coming of Wild Thing. Wild Thing has 5 flexible pillars tipped with sharp claws that shift with flawless precision. No one has ever seen the end of it because its mass is simply colossal. Wild Thing steals our young, old, weak, and strong. No one is safe. We hope that they go to the outer world and find a better place. We have long since realized that those who are taken do not go to a better place. They come back in pieces. Recently, there have been a slew of monstrous killings. My gummy friends have turned up with missing halves, experimentally attached to another color. Some have misplaced an ear, an arm, or a head, and others might even come back with too many ears, arms, or heads. The leaders think we've angered Wild Thing, so they decided to use ritual sacrifices as a display of appeasement. You can only guess who the leaders chose to be the lucky sacrifice. It was me. Of course, I reacted to the news with a brave face and a courageous heart. Those gummies who saw me cry and claw at the ground as they dragged me away, they must have been on some heavy hallucinogens. I mean, I do workout stretches daily. I'm quite fit for a gummy. And I know that I could take on the Wild Thing. I just don't really want to. I have better things to do than save the world. But alas, I have no choice in the matter of my fate. I was pushed to the top of the atmosphere and set out like a slab of fresh meat, pre-marinated for the vile carnivore. I was sweating under the oppressive sun. If I had an excretory system to lose control of, I full well might have. When Wild Thing began its entrance, the pillars crept forward at an agonizingly slow pace, taunting me. Its shadow reached me first. Then slowly, its pillars curled around my sugar cells. Finally, the claws pinched me about the middle and lifted me off the gravity of Gummy World. It's a good thing I'm not afraid of heights. Wild Thing dangled me in front of 2 large, wet-looking orbs that were protected by some sort of shutter device. I tried to communicate with Wild Thing, but it must lack even the most basic understanding. I believe it is ruled strictly by its primitive survival urges. I begged and pleaded with it to have mercy and show some sort of jelly-like compassion, but to no avail. The pressure around my middle continued to intensify, and there was a sharp squeezing sensation, and pop! I felt my tummy twirl into bow ties. I had never felt anything like this before. I looked down and I'd been pinched clean in half. My lovely green legs had been soldered for a pair of white drab ones. Wild Thing dropped me back into my planet. There was the expected oohing and awing over my new state. I was placed in quarantine for a while. Still, the leaders continued to sacrifice gummy bears in hopes that the Wild Thing might be satisfied. They cannot comprehend that the Wild Thing will always be hungry. In the end, I'm just grateful that the stuff I'm made of lacks nerve endings. I wouldn't have wanted to feel the full effect of the distressing incident. Being torn clean in half, having another poor gummy bear's legs forced onto my lower half. I mean, if I did feel it, you'd be thinking that this experience was terribly inhuman. The sacrifice and torture of gummy bears.